organization needs different types of capital. Some of them need equity capital. That's when you invest into the shareholder base, the equity base of a company, and you're owning it's like you own a piece of the company.
The 2 books that you wrote, because they were targeted at youth, and I read one of the books, and I thought, you know, old as I am, I could also use some of that wisdom. So what were you drawing that from? Is it your own? I mean, a lot of it has to do with your own experience, but you know, how do you connect to such a wide audience with one experience, or did you draw from others?
Some people get into addiction. Some people end up getting into a cycle of bad relationships because they're not addressing the core. So suppressing is never the answer. But to your point, the question is, what does that young person do? And I don't think the answer for a young person is actually any different to an adult, right? So what do we as humans do? I'm a big foodie, so, but I'm not a food snob, but just a foodie. So I go wherever the good food is. That's like a street market or a high-end restaurant, you'll find me there.
But you can't say you're not a food snob because you'll know what's not good. That's snobbish.
Oh yeah, it has to be good. It has to be good. The qualifier here is good. So if it happens to be a very good Borovos roll on that day, it's fine. It has to be good.
Who is Rumbi Unafraid?
Oh wow.
Welcome to Klink Africa, the space that intertwines lifestyle, all things amazing about African women. And today we have an amazing guest, Rumbi Munyaradzi. Welcome, Rumbi.
Thank you.
And our girl, Sabzi.
Hey! Lovely to have you here, Rumbi, and great to see you always, Daddy.
Thanks, my love. So Rumbi wears many hats, right? She is an executive in the financial services space. She is the COO at Sasai Fintech, which we'll hear more about. She's a board member at Time Bank, author of 2 powerful books empowering young girls. Well, the next generation really, not just girls, right? And beyond the titles, she's a woman with a rich history. She's born in Zimbabwe, grew up in South Africa, considers herself a child of the world, has been all over, you know, I'm sure you've got amazing nuggets for us from being all over the world, really, not just the continent. And also from banking to boardroom to, is it social entrepreneurship, would you call it?
It's getting there, but for now it's authorship, because I'm trying not to overwhelm myself.
Okay. Maybe then we should let you tell your story.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, or, you know, the Klink audience.
Yeah, I mean, and to your point about Women's Month, I think celebrating people, each other, our communities is a lifestyle. Right?
Yeah.
It's good to have months where it's either the Youth Month or Women's Month, but celebrating each other should be a lifestyle. And that's why I like platforms like this that really want to highlight what makes us great.
Yes.
But as for my story, you know, when I listen to my bio, anyone's bio, they look like they make sense going in. And oftentimes life makes sense only in reverse. Like when you're looking in the hindsight and you're like, oh, yeah, there does seem to be an arc, but you know, there are highs and lows, experiments along the way. But I'm just in a phase where I'm doing what I enjoy.
Yes.
You know, there is a thread around 2 main things. A thread around financial services, in the sense that if I look at like my upbringing in Zimbabwe, even when I was in primary school, I was out there hustling, selling stuff because I wanted to be like, oh, so this thing called money, how does it work?
Oh, you're selling lollipops.
Okay, we call them freezers.
Yeah.
So like those little packets of juice.
Yes.
And one of them frozen. So the thing is, I was in demand because my freezers were frozen and the ones at the tuck shop were like liquid. So I was like, always had a steady supply.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, so if I try something, I can make money. And my parents actually allowed me to just, well, they gave me float, for example, gave me a mountain bike so I could actually go and buy my stock.
Amazing.
And run my little business. And so that for me, it just opened my eyes to the idea that if I'm creative, I can make things happen. And you know, the good book says your words create worlds, right? That's literally how we're all here from a Genesis perspective. So I'm like, my ideas matter, right? So if I look at how I carried through school, was able to combine sciences and arts, even in my education. at some point you are funneled down a particular path, something that I don't really like about our education system, because many of us have multiple talents.
Absolutely.
Right? So I enjoyed sciences, but ended up in finance. But even though I was in finance, when you're doing investment banking, a big part of it is pitch books and all of that. So I always used to wonder, why are my pitch books so long? And it's because I liked telling a story through the pitch.
Amazing.
Right? So yes, interest rates are going up and down. Yes, the Fed has done this and that, right? But what is the story? And more importantly, what's the story in how it actually matters to the client, right? So I really enjoyed that. But I think there were always these opportunities where I realized that there's more to what I want to achieve than just selling capital. As part of my job, I travel all around Africa. So Gabon, Cote d'Ivoire, Rwanda, Ethiopia, I've been to all these places. And especially because I would fly into the capital. And sometimes I'd have the opportunity to actually just drive around the city. Like I'll take a day or two to visit markets, just see how the people live. Because when I'm there, I'd go and meet, either the leadership of the country or of a company. And they're telling you this whole vision about where they want their people to be. But the question is, where are the people right now? When you see someone on the side of the road selling tomatoes or pushing their cart, it's like, what are the hopes and dreams of those people? And how is what I'm doing helping or hurting that? So I started to really think through, how do we develop capital besides just financial capital? And if I can't be everywhere, because once you start traveling, you really appreciate how big the world is.
Right.
And how small a piece of it you are.
Yes, yes. A small piece, but still an impactful one, depending on how you want to use the skills and talents. So I was like, okay, so I have a skill set around raising capital, but if there's something that I can do to support human capital, I'd want to do that. And that's where the idea for writing books initially started, to say, I want there to be content out there that can help a young person be able to change the circumstance. Because someone who's got the grit to be pushing a wheelbarrow from point A to point B, the issue isn't resilience. They've got it in spades. They're waking up every single day, and not even for a lot of money, but for something. Right? So how can we actually cultivate that, help them think bigger, so they can actually really improve their lives? And so what began as like a very big picture of, I'm seeing Africa at a very high level, elite level, but wanting to connect with the everyday person as well. But knowing that I can't be everywhere. So words were part of that journey as well.
Incredible. So Rumbi, we sit here and we speak about capital markets and assume everyone who's our audience can consume it and understands. So break it down for, I don't know, the young 20-year-old girl or even the 40-year-old who's looking for a career change or thinking about what on earth is capital markets. So talk to us about what it is and what you do and how you enable the work that you do.
Okay, so my life now is very different to capital markets. But specifically for that, so my undergrad was finance and economics. I went to WITS. And even that was a little bit of a journey, because I first enrolled at WITS for actuarial science. Because in high school I was told I was good at maths. So maths apparently equals actuarial science. I tried it out, failed in my first semester. Then I was like, this is not good for my ego. I think I want to go towards spaces where I can thrive, right? So I'm saying this because some of the things we find, it's not because some of us knew that the things called capital markets, you stumble forward, right? So because I was failing actuarial science, trimmed down my degree, focused on a BCom, and within that space, I was focusing on finance and economics. And I was starting to get an appreciation for what that's all about, right? The raising of capital, whether you're a corporate or a government or a bank. And landed up at JP Morgan for the first phase of my career. And even then, even when I was applying, because again, there's some people who when they read our bios, they think we knew what we're applying for. Right? I just applied for investment banking at a place called JP Morgan, right? And I was interviewed by multiple teams. Some of them were equity capital markets, some of them debt capital markets. And that's when I started thinking, oh, these things are different, right? So capital markets is really about mobilizing financial resources to power commerce, power organizations. But every organization needs different types of capital. Some of them need equity capital. That's when you invest into the shareholder base, the equity base of a company. And you're owning it's like you own a piece of the company, right? And that's great for companies and for banks. But if you're a government, for example, governments don't give out equity in themselves. But what they do need to do is to borrow. So there's the biggest depth of borrowing happens at a government level. Anyone who's ever heard of government bonds or treasury bills, that is state level borrowing. And the debt capital market space is about allowing organizations to either borrow bonds or loans from different types of investors who could be residing locally or internationally.
Fantastic.
So let's talk about the book, or the two books that you wrote, because they were targeted at youth, and I read one of the books, and I thought, old as I am, I could also use some of that wisdom. So what were you drawing that from? Is it your own? I mean, a lot of it has to do with your own experience, but how do you connect to such a wide audience with one experience, or did you draw from others as you were growing up?
So the first book I wrote when I was on sabbatical. So I did the JP Morgan thing for 12 years, and I just sensed that I was shifting. The world was shifting, especially if you look at how tech is now really enforcing the momentum that has been building up over time.
Yeah.
So I could feel that the momentum was shifting, right? And I also felt that I, as a person, wanted something else for my life, because again, I've been seeing how the continent works, and I'm like, there has to be more, right? At some point, we have to build the things that solve our problems, as opposed to just raising capital and not having direct oversight on where the capital goes. That's where my mind was, but I still didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. So I took a break from corporate overall. I quit my job, didn't know what I was going to do next, right? But when I quit my job, I thought I was going to be living my best millennial life. Yeah. I'd enrolled at a Spanish university. And the key reason why I chose Spain was because I wanted to be on the beach. So I was going to go to class, but I wanted to be on the beach immediately afterwards.
The Costello song.
Yes. and doing the things. Yeah. Because I worked. I need a break. Yeah. I never had a gap year like when I was younger. I was going through, I just went through the funnel immediately. Right. So enrolled at the Spanish university, wanting an education, but also wanting a break. I quit my job in February 2020. Lockdowns began in March 2020. And so the things that I'd wanted to do, which were very much about being away, opening my horizons to a new version of me, I couldn't do. But then what I got the surprise of was that the work that I needed to do wasn't about exterior movement, it was about internal travel. And how the first book, which is the Gen Z Pocket Book, allowed me to actually explore who am I really and how am I going to contribute to the world. And so I wrote it because I was on a sabbatical. I had the time. I'd been gathering thoughts for many years. Actually, I got the idea to write the book 4 years before I began, because I had wanted to write a letter to my 18-year-old self around the things that I would have wanted to know that would have made my journey into adulthood easier. You mentioned that I grew up in one country but now live in another. Yeah. There are many things now, especially because the younger generation, Gen Zs, think global, right? And so it sounds attractive to be like, oh yeah, I grew up in South Africa, but let me just go and live in America. Yeah. And it is good to try new things, but you forget how much you're leaving behind in search of what you're reaching forward to. Wow. Losing your community, losing your friendship, not losing, but you're not as integrated.
It's estranged, right?
Yeah, it's estranged. And so the things that helped you flourish when you're home, you don't have those where you're going. And recreating that where you're going actually isn't that easy, because those local people already have that. They don't necessarily need you. They might embrace you, but they might not. Right? So there are a lot of things that I had to learn from a resilience perspective to say, I'm parenting myself whilst abroad. And that has good parts and bad parts. All right. So I felt like I failed forward through a lot of things, but also moved forward well with others, because I might not have known what to do, but I had the tools of how to think through the situation. Yeah. So that first book was just putting through a framework of the most teachable moments. There aren't a lot of personal examples in the first book because I wanted it to be like a very quick guide, bite-sized advice for teenage girls in particular, right? And even with the concept around it, I was like, okay, why do I feel so strongly about 18? Yeah. Right. So oftentimes the thing that makes you start a project are not the core motivator. Like many of us make decisions perhaps based on the most recent catalyst, but our decisions have layers.
Yeah.
So yes, I have that very high level view of I've been traveling Africa and I want to do something that empowers the African child.
Yeah.
But then I also realized that I wanted something to help me the way that I would have wanted to when I was going through a tough time. So I share in both books that I was expelled from boarding school when I was in high school.
Yeah.
All right. That happened around grade 11 equivalent. And it really changed my whole life at that point. I had a certain view of how I thought my life would look. It didn't involve getting in trouble. Right? It didn't
Were you
involve,
ever in trouble before you got expelled?
not real trouble. No, I'm a rebel who knows how to color within the lines.
Okay.
But I'm a lot of different things.
A functional rebel.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You'll love to hate me. But, you'll still work
Get
with me.
enough. Yeah.
No, but there were all these things that put me on a particular path, and I didn't always have the resources and the guidance that I needed. And so even at that stage, right, because I was getting good grades, people thought I was fine. And I didn't even know how to articulate what I was feeling. So again, even asking for help, I didn't have words for that. So yes, I started with the high concept of I want to help young people at scale, but I also know what it's like to need help and not know how to voice it, not know where to look, and potentially not even have anyone to ask. So that's where that first impetus came from.
Can I lean into that a little bit? Because I think I think a lot of us can identify with, what is it? The child who's okay and nobody asks after you because you're okay, you're going to make it through. And what is it that you would say for that child, boy or girl out there who needs help, who's screaming inside, but can't find the mechanism or the safe place to be able to bring out all of the elements? Because as you say, this becomes a tapestry of your life. So on the surface, a lot of us have looked like we were okay, but we've had to deal with all of this stuff in our adulthood.
Yeah, and it shows up in different ways. The things that we don't address, they never really go away, right? But you find yourself acting out, rebelling. Some people get into addiction. Some people end up getting into a cycle of bad relationships because they're not addressing the core. So suppressing is never the answer. But to your point, the question is, what does that young person do? And I don't think the answer for a young person is actually any different to an adult, right? So what do we as humans do when we find ourselves at the end of our tether, when things aren't working? I think that for me, the starting point has always been to recognize that you're not okay. Because a person who can't even acknowledge that they're in a state of need, reaching out to the next person to say something becomes difficult, right? So knowing that it's okay to not be okay, that for me is where it starts. And creating an environment where you start to understand who in your circle can you actually talk to about stuff. Your circle can't always fix things, right? I do think that, especially if you look at how Black women relate, we talk a lot, but not everyone that we are talking to is empowered to help, right? But there is some value in being able to say, of all the people I know, who can I at least tell that I'm not okay? So I've admitted to myself. Now I've been able to share with the next person that I'm not okay. And making it clear that in me sharing that need, I'm also approaching you for resources, because someone can talk to you and think that, okay, we've had a nice chat. This is it. But you actually need to empower people to think on your behalf to say, Rumbi needs this help. We might not have the answer now, but I'm going to start also looking around because that conversation wasn't enough. And I do notice in how people relate that when they're telling me stuff, I can tell that they actually need the help, but they haven't verbalized it. They've just said something, but they haven't said, Rumbi, can you go the extra mile and help me fix this? So when you are that friend to someone, also take that initiative to say, what is the help that they need but don't know how to ask for?
But you touch on a lot of, and this is assumed in the book, right? It's not highlighted, the emotional side, the psychological side of growing up. There is a child who grew up in a village. I mean, this is our story, or a township where there's fire in your belly. You're worth so much, but you can't share it because either the community around you doesn't quite understand it, or it's just too much fire. You're just too big for a place. And so for me, your book is like that aunt, right? That I can tell with confidence, who understands where I'm coming from. And you also touch on issues like grief, you know, how to deal with grief as a young person, because now your support system is gone. You know, maybe you lost your mom or a guardian who held that space for you.
Yes.
And now they're no longer there. So who's there now to support me? Some people it's grandmothers, you know, who make sure I go to school, I do my homework. You know, there's in South Africa we talk about the missing middle. You know, kids who suddenly don't come to school anymore because their support system is gone. You know, there's no one who makes sure that they stay the course. You know, so for me, a book like yours becomes more important because that person can identify with what you're saying. You provide tools for them. You even provide spaces for them to write their own notes. You know, and I don't know if you knew that is what you were doing, that you were releasing someone or saving someone from what could typically be the end of them as young people.
Yeah, and you know, so many dreams get aborted prematurely, right? Because we don't know how to move from concept to execution.
Yeah.
So that second book that you're talking about, Your Guide to Adulting, I didn't even intend to write that. So, you know, all of this is happening, the career break is happening, I write the first book, and I think I took about 18 months off of work. Then at some point I was like, okay, I need to go back to work now.
Enough sun time.
Yeah, you know. Not because I really wanted to work, but more because I didn't want to lose momentum for when the world would turn. So I could have actually probably taken another year off, done other projects, but I just felt that there was a particular time that it was important to return to work. And for me, the phase of life I'm in now is about following what feels true. It might not be convenient per se, but there's a knowing that I have that, no, this is the right time for this sort of idea. And so it was the right time to come back into fintech, or rather to pivot from my previous banking career and go into fintech where I'm building something. And what then happened is that because I'd written the first book, but I'm now back at work, I still wanted to connect with young people. So I kept blogging. And through those blogs, I could see what people were responding mostly to. I had so many young people saying, you know, I lost my voice. There was one girl I remember in particular. She felt like she didn't know how to reach for her dreams because her mom was her biggest cheerleader and she had lost her mom. And she's like, how do I move forward into life when the person who gave me my voice is not there? You know, and I'm like, you need to find it again. You know, so even when you talk about the section on grief, I literally had her in mind to say you need to fight for yourself because you're your mother's legacy. She might not be here, but she wouldn't want you to give up.
Oh, Rumbi, that's
right.
That's amazing.
And oftentimes, because even the adults who are around us, let's say in her case, she was around 16 at the time, and she still had aunts, her mom's friends in her lives, but they weren't talking about that grief because they're also locked up in that grief. We have great customs, right? We take 1-2 weeks to mourn someone, but grief is a lifelong process.
And layered, and it comes in different forms. You can't
tell. There's no
you preempt it.
You can't preempt what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's so incredible. A friend of mine lost her mom earlier this year. And about 2 weeks after her mom's burial, she called me because I lost my dad in 2017. She was sobbing on the phone, like 5:30 in the morning. And she said, "Sebs, I'm so sorry." And I said, what are you sorry about? Are you okay? And she said, I didn't know what it felt like. I realized all the ways in which I was absent when Papa passed because I'm feeling it right now. And she said, you know, the world moves on and you are stuck. You're like, but how is everyone okay when, you know, the thing that gave my life meaning is no longer there. And you're right, it's stuff that we really don't often
now imagine at 16.
talk about. At 16, I don't even know how you process those emotions, you know?
And that's the thing, we need to create conversational spaces for it.
Absolutely.
I lost my father when I was in my 30s. And that felt different. That's more like what you're talking about with yourself and your friend. We're adults and we have some kind of tooling for it, but it still hits different. Right? So with all of these things, the ideas would come as I'm talking to young people, and I'd articulate that maybe through a blog or maybe we're on an Instagram live and we're talking about it. But the thing is, there are many other people like that one girl. And so that's why I would write, and I kept on writing articles every month. But then I'm like, well, what will happen with these articles? Because if they're all over the place, how do you create like a coherent learning experience?
Yeah.
And so I didn't intend to write a second book, but that's how it ended up. But the experience that I had from writing the first one, I spent a lot of time talking to educators, a lot of time talking to parents. And I realized that in as much as people want folks like me, like you, to come and talk at prize giving and give speeches, what young people need are tools. They know that there's inspiration and I can be fired up for a day. But what's going to happen tomorrow when I'm still sitting with my grief? What's going to happen when I need to actually be my cheerleader because I don't have that around me? I need to do that for myself. But what does positive self-talk feel like? Some people actually need you to help them understand what is an affirmation? How do you frame it? Right? And or to just supply the words. So there's a lot of that where I really just wanted to go back and do justice to the conversations I've been having over time. Because there were so many people who were reaching out to me. And what helped the most was, yes, you've got the tool, but then also what's my personal lesson, right? So now with that second one, I'd say, yes, I'm giving you advice, but I'm not speaking out of a vacuum. I've gone through these things. And here's how you learn the lesson. And the lesson, you learn it once, or rather you might learn it early, and then you keep on evolving over time. Adulting doesn't end.
It doesn't end. And you know, like when we started, we said we're talking to young people, but you're talking to all of us.
All of us, absolutely.
You know, I think we are kids at some point in life. And that's why I say, you know, people need their parents at any, you know, throughout their lives. And if they're not there, then you have something to draw from, you know, and that's why I'm saying you are that aunt. For all of us, actually. Because if I need some sort of inspiration, I'll go back to the book and say, you know, how did she deal with this aspect? But do you find that young people read?
They do. So I've been observing who kind of gravitates towards my stuff and what I do. So there are people who are naturally readers. And if you give them something that sounds sensible, they'll read it anyway, because that's their vibe. Then there are those who are reading it and they open the chapter that speaks to them in that moment. So because I'm struggling with my friendships, okay, I'm going to read that. Then they realize, oh, it's actually helpful. What else is in here? You know? So situational support is where a lot of the young people are at. They're finding what's helpful in the moment, and then they engage with it. And then, if I'm also just being blunt about it, some young people are reading it because their parents bought it, right? So the parents recognize the need. The parents might not have the language to support their kids, right? Because again, you might, many of us are trying to give the people around us, the children, the teams that we lead, we're trying to give them something that we might not have. But just because we don't know how to support them doesn't mean we can't see the need. So there's been a lot of parents who are coming forward and saying, this is a resource that my children need. And they put it in front of them. And then we start having conversations together to say, if I'm not in a position to spend time one-on-one coaching the children, at least that parent is empowered to lead the conversation in a more impartial way to say, well, the book is saying this. How do you relate to it?
I'm keen to find out, you know, what you say to the boy child, or like we said, your book and what you've put together resonates with more than the child, right? It resonates with the adult. So the boy child, the man, who has traditionally been taught that emotions are a sign of weakness, you know, because culturally, and we can't talk about Africa like it's a monolith, because it isn't. But I feel like we have so many traditions within our cultures, but the one thing that we don't do, or culture doesn't draw us to, is the emotional bits. And I find that in my friendship circles, within my family, it is the boys or the men who still, even now, haven't found a way to draw community. I do that with Gary. We do check-ins all the time. I come in here, I kick my shoes off, we open a bottle of Shanza, and we talk. And sometimes it starts with tears, and at the end of it
ends with tears.
Or it ends with tears. But it's cathartic for me. It's a place where I know there's safety, and I can come and leave things here, and I literally physically feel different when I depart that. How do we start to find or communicate or generate those safe spaces for our brothers, our sons, our partners, our husbands?
Yeah, I think sometimes we have to recognize that this is genuinely a community sport. Like one of my big desires for everything that I do is to say, how is the community better for this?
Yeah.
And I encourage a lot of journaling in what I do. And when we were speaking earlier, I know that you like to journal. Because the more you can actually start to sort out your internal world, again, you can convey it to others. And you can also make room for other people, because you now know that, hey, I needed to be kind to myself. And I know how good that was for me. Therefore, when I see someone else who needs a moment of kindness, I can extend the same thing to them. But for boys in particular, so yes, my first book was aimed at girls. Second book is for young people, because what you'll find, it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or working in business, the thing that you start out to do isn't really where you stay. You start to expand your vision. So I started out thinking this was a conversation for girls, not because I don't care about boys, but more because there was a specific outlet that I needed at the time, right? And then as I started engaging, I realized, hey, the boys, they do enjoy talking about these things. And they are looking for advice. And they also need the same tools. So there's nothing in what we're talking about. Affirmations are for everyone. If you go on Instagram right now, or a lot of the affirmations out there, you would think that only women need them. They're done in like nice pinks and purples and whatever. But these are gender neutral things. We all need to speak life into our lives.
Absolutely.
Right? So they're for everyone. And by doing by creating this kind of work, I'm saying that these are resources for all of us, right? By prompting everyone to reflect every month, it's for all of us.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's a role that men need to play specifically in intervening for boys. Because when people keep asking me, where's the book for boys or whatever, I'm like, but it's actually not the responsibility of a woman to do that for young boys. Yeah, I think men should also step up to this challenge to say, how do they cultivate these spaces for the boys in their lives? I'm a big believer in community and networking, right? And one of the simple things I think we can all do is to say we all come from probably some village, rural context that we can give back to, a township context that we can come back to, a school we can come back to. What are you, as the man in your space, doing to help boys that have been through the same upbringing as you? Because you can relate better.
Yeah.
You know that in this environment, everyone is taught to be tough or whatever. So help them to break through that. We do have to be very sensitive to say relatability is important.
Right.
And I've also had to draw that line for myself to say I can't help everyone.
Yeah.
But what I certainly can do is to spark conversations with others to say, also reach back.
Yeah, but to your earlier point around like intermittent interventions where you go to give a speech or at a prize giving, boys need to hear it more often. I think so. Yeah, I don't think it's enough for them to hear it that one time because this so and so, because you're too high up. Whether you tell your story as a township boy or whatever, you're on a podium. You're not talking to me. I can't share what I'm feeling with you, which is different from girls. I think we tend to give girls more airtime
fair enough.
than boys on a day-to-day or on a constant basis. So I think the more they see you and they hear you and they can express themselves to you would probably add more, because girls have that. That's why they're a lot more empowered, these days, because we give more emphasis to the girl. But let's talk about you as a person. So, you're a businesswoman, you're an entrepreneur, but what is Rumbi outside of that? Who is she? What do you do for fun? What are you passionate about?
What I do for fun? I do fewer things lately because I feel like my life is overscheduled. So one of the things I always make sure on a weekend I don't schedule too many things.
Yeah.
Right. So that if I do wake up and I feel like reading a book, That's what's happening that day.
Yeah.
I feel like opening a bottle of wine with my friends. That's what's happening that day.
Yeah.
I'm a big foodie, so but not a food snob, but just a foodie. So I go wherever the good food is. If that's like a street market or a high-end restaurant, you'll find me there. Like,
But you can't say you're not a food snob because you'll know what's not good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it has to be good. It has to be good. The qualifier here is good. So if it happens to be a very good boerewors roll on that day, it's fine. But it has to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I literally travel for food. That's how much I love food.
Amazing.
Right. Getting back into golf, that's going to be something I'll do later today as well.
Okay.
And I'd say I am looking for the simple pleasures, because when I look at my life prior to COVID, I did a lot of things that made sense for the stage of life I was in. So I was traveling a lot, yes. And I often prioritized travel in nature. So go out to Kilimanjaro, be out in the Namibian desert, unplug from city life. But the thing is, you're doing that once or twice a year. And I'm looking for like the daily pleasures, you know. So the Rumbi on a day-to-day basis just likes to sit outside in the sun for a few minutes.
Which you've taught me.
Yes.
For a few minutes.
Rinse, repeat every day.
Yes.
I like to make time to speak to my friends and family every single day, because before I was too busy, you know. And I remember someone saying, "You're different now." And I'm the same person, but I'm just more available now, right? So I like a good cup of coffee. There I am a snob. I'm a snob.
That's all of us.
You can't compromise there.
Oh yeah,
I get it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But more than, I think the biggest aspect of who I'm becoming now is someone who's able to be a Christian in thought, word, and deed every single day in every single space.
Oh wow.
So when I'm doing my corporate thing, I don't feel like I have to be hiding that. When I'm with you guys, if I decide to drop a verse, if that's what it means, I do that.
Yeah.
It's integrated, because it's not just an aspect of who I am. So working on my spirituality for me has been a big part of defining Rumbi going forward.
Okay, so this is a stolen quote. It's not a quote. It's a question. I've actually seen it. There's a lady who does it, and I've forgotten her name. Otherwise, I'd give her the shout out. But she asks the question often, always, on every stage she goes on. And I think, you know, I heard that question and it blew my mind. So I love to ask it now. Who is Rumbi unafraid?
Oh wow. Wow.
So Rumbi Unafraid is actually doing all the things I'm currently doing. I'll just be going harder. I'll just be going harder. And there's a lot, and the only thing that's stopping me from going harder is I'm realizing that everything I want to do requires building better and different teams. Because once you're living a portfolio career life, everything, you need help.
Yeah.
All right. So Rumbi is an author right now. Great. And because I believe in what I do and how it's going to help people, technically every young person in Africa should have this book. However many hundreds of millions there are.
I agree.
Right. So going harder, because I have a vision around unlocking that human potential. That's the era I'm going into now. Right. So I've been softly loading this unafraid version of reading. And honestly, like, leaving corporate has been a big part of releasing fear. I'm not going to blame it on the work environment. It's not about that. I think there's a transition that many of us African women and Africans need to make, to say we might be first generation something. First generation to get an education, first generation to get a job. And for me, that platform was just so big, right? I grew up in a very comfortable middle-class life in Zim, but JP Morgan, it is a particular level. The earning level was quite good, and I got to executive director level very young. So to quit and leave and not know what's next, right? But I realized that there is a version of myself I will not attain if I'm always within the confines of corporate, right? So I've been evolving, I've been becoming this unafraid version since I quit that job, because I knew that I wouldn't find her if I stayed. And that's not to do with the organization. That's about me recognizing what conditions I need to thrive, right? So unafraid Rumbi is where I am now, but she has to go harder.
Oh, I think that deserves a clink.
Absolutely. Wow. To being unafraid.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Cheers,
all
that's
day,
beautiful.
every day.
Oh,
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm now unafraid. I'm gonna look for my unafraid self a bit more. And I don't know if it's an age thing. Do you think it's an age thing? Do you get to a point?
Yeah, I'm turning 39 in a few days, and I'm finding this lack of fear. It's slipping. Cause I'm just like, there's time, guys.
Yeah.
Time.
I wanna talk to you after 40. Because I think there's a whole lot of calmness and surrender post 40.
Absolutely.
Because I think we raise so much to have attained certain milestones by 40 that we are consumed by it, at least in my case. Then I turned 40. And I'm like, the world hasn't stopped. I'm still here. And actually the pressure to be is gone. So I can just slowly do my thing without the pressure of attaining it at a certain time. So it released a lot of anxiety in my system.
But if also being honest about personality types, I need to have that pressure now in order to enjoy the life that's going to come.
Yeah.
So for example, me chilling, writing books, living my best life, it's because there was a time I set myself up financially, right? So I think we have to recognize good value stress to get us to a particular point. So that when we change gears, we're not feeling like we left anything on the table.
Absolutely. You know, so that's why I want to have the conversation post 40, because I want to see, you know, it's an experiment. I'm trying to see if
that will be different.
You know, because it's you're driven by different things. You still have the drive, but it's different in my opinion anyway. So thank you so much for today. And for the book, where do we find the book?
So
the 2 books.
Yeah, for the 2 books, the catch-all is you can visit any exclusive books nationwide. And you can also visit my website, rumbimunyaradzi.com. You can order it from there as well.
Fantastic.
Okay. So worldwide, it's online. It's South Africa,
and also on Amazon.
Oh,
you can order it on Amazon for those who like a Kindle read. Or digital.
Oh, you've got audiobook as well?
No. I'm not sure how I feel about my voice being cast into your ear for 10 hours. But I'm still thinking about it.
Well, I guess, I mean, it's how the world consumes information, right? If you believe that the, good old page turning still works, then it is. I'm just asking, or something like Instagram. I don't know if you're on social media.
Oh, you see, these are all the things I'm learning in my author life to put all the socials on blast.
Yeah.
So yes. Exclusive books for the book. Fantastic. Or rumbimunyaradzi.com. I also have a blog because the conversations just keep flowing. So I think I do have a 3rd book in me, but after I recover, another 2 or 3 years. And then social media is Gen Zim Connection on Instagram, and also Rumbi Munyaradzi on Instagram.
Okay, so we'll have that all on our
show notes.
On our what is it? Shout outs.
Show notes.
Show notes. We learn it.
all the time.
Thank you so much for tuning in, Klink family. We are so proud of you, Rumbi. Thank you for being an aunt to all of us through words, and all the best to you.
Thank you.
Cheers to you. Cheers.